Everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It is Sunday morning, a little after 9 o'clock. And boy, it's been a weekend just really hectic. I mentioned, I think that my brother-in-law passed away suddenly Thursday morning. They live about 60 miles from here, and my wife and I have just been, it feels like we've just been going back and forth a lot. And add to that, I feel like I'm starting to come down with something. So, hey, this is going to be a lot of fun. But let's do it anyway after I read you this. The website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a look. Okay, we're looking at a 15-minute chart that really kind of isolates this little back and forth pattern that we'd been seeing over the past 7 days. And the first thing to make note of is that all but the first day of this pattern took place underneath a channel that is described by these two green lines. So we come off this low here at 1540 back in April, and we get on up to 1680 and change. Then we break this channel support line, back test it, then we form the rest of this little pattern, which now is apparently giving us a glimpse of its intentions, in that it broke down fairly quickly on near the very end of the session on Friday. Now, you know, I'm not always just looking for caveats. You know what a caveat is? It's a way to say that, well, you know, this is an extenuating circumstance. I'm not always looking for those things, but you need to be aware of the timing of things. And all I'm going to say is this candle right here on the 15-minute chart looks pretty convincing. But it was a candle put in as the last trading before the weekend. And when I'm just always a little suspect of three things: after hours trading, pre-market trading, and that last spurt that takes place going into a weekend. So, I mean, this looks to me like this is a break, and I'm treating it as a break. And with that in mind, we've got our long-term channel right here. This line goes all the way back to November. Let's review that real quickly. I think I've got to, I got to do a... Can't even get it with a 2-hour. It keeps getting further and further away. So we're going to have to go to a daily to remind you of this yellow line right here. And it broke back in middle to late April, but formed a nice little inverted head and shoulders pattern that touched off this last rally. So going back, let's look at it on a 30-minute chart now. We mentioned that with the break of either this line or this line, we would expect a move in that same direction of the break. And if it was to go down, then we're looking now for 1600, or actually 1600, something in the high 1590s. Had this gone up, then we would be looking for something around 1700. But if this is a legitimate break, and it is not technically significant quite yet, because it hasn't reached that 1% margin. But if it does what it should do, then this should be setting up a move that will carry with it some more downside. And there's no guarantee that we would stop at 1600, but we do have a nice horizontal trend line down there that you can see. It used to be a couple things. For one, it was the trend line drawn over the 2000 and 2007 tops. It also was approached twice in April and then in very early May, and it could not get over that. Then it gapped up over that level. So there are a couple reasons why I would expect some support at 1600. Long-term trend line, for what it's worth, been broken. Short-term resistance taken out. And then finally, you've got this gap up that could very well also produce some gap support. This yellow line, it'll be interesting to see what happens when we reach that level. We've seen before that this yellow line has broken and then it regained. So, you got to take that into account too. Maybe this line is changing shapes a little bit. It's really a little hard to say what to expect out of this line right now. I will remind you that when we had this break back here, I don't think we quite reached that technically significant level again. So maybe we could break it a little bit, but if this triangle takes us down to 1600, then that would be 27 points underneath this yellow line, which by anybody's definition should be technically significant. So going into the week of June 3rd, what's going to be interesting is just to see what takes place if this move does have continuation. What takes place when this line is encountered? Because if there's any continuation at all in this selling, this will get hit right off the bat. So that's really, as we were looking at the week and what was taking place, the one thing that we knew for sure going into this week was that this line should serve as resistance. And it's interesting that, and by the way, this was a shortened week, so we're only going back 4 days. But what's interesting is there we got that gap up that almost immediately went up to a back test of this broken support line. And we've seen that so many times. We saw it again on the 28th, and then on Tuesday. And then we just kind of made a turn down and then a turn up. And then finally on Friday, this pattern looks like it is, I'm going to say, in the process of breaking down. So if we come down to this yellow line here and then back test maybe, maybe that would be a good opportunity if you're just chomping at the bit to short something. That would probably be a decent opportunity to do so. If you're long and you're concerned about positions that you were not wanting to hold long term, then a back test to this line would be likely a good opportunity to lighten up on those long positions. So guys, that is your video. I've got a headache, and I feel like I'm even got a slight fever. So I'm going to call it quits right here, and I've got to get the kids out of bed, and we got to go make another trip down to the south side of it, actually Newnan, Georgia, which is about 20 miles south of Atlanta. So guys, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for your support. And looks like we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for a trip down to about 1600 this week. Thanks for watching. Take care.